This podcast was created during the 2023 WGA and SAG-AFTRA strikes. Fortunately for us, the WGA seems to have reached a tentative agreement with AMTPT. However, SAG-AFTRA has not yet. So please continue to support the Entertainment Community Fund. You'll find the link in the show notes. Thanks. High Queen Morgase of Andor has issued the following proclamation. The following discussion will include spoilers from the Wheel of Time books by Robert Jordan and Brandon Sanderson. We ask that you read those books so that our discussion does not spoil you. You have been warned, so it is written, so shall it be done. Hey everybody, welcome back to Bustin' Blockbusters. Matt here with you. Thanks for joining me and Priscilla and Chris, who will be along with me shortly. We still have many topics to discuss from our recordings from earlier, and you're getting that in this part 2. This one more about the adaptive changes that happened in Season 2, as well as some reckless speculation regarding how that can lead to other things in Season 3 as well. Reckless speculation. Reckless speculation. This might be my last podcast on the Wheel of Time for a while until we get some more significant news. I might also, though, do one more kind of Season 3 outline podcast, just a solo cast, where I'll be talking about how I think they can adapt the story for Season 3, kind of further extending upon these conversations. It has been a pleasure to hear from the Wheel of Time fandom and to serve the Wheel of Time fandom with my opinions, some of them unpopular, but I'm glad that you took the time to listen to them. And don't forget that my door is always open as far as feedback goes. At BustBlockbuster on the site, formerly known as Twitter. You can send emails to mattsaudioblog@gmail.com. You can, of course, leave comments on the YouTube videos for Double P Media. That's youtube.com/@double, the letter P, the word media. And you can use the word double, the letters PHQ, to contact them via socials as well. Priscilla also has a YouTube channel. Please check it out. youtube.com/@PriscillaTV1. Final note, if you're into the television series, or the Netflix series, I guess I should say, called The Crown, please check out one of my other feeds, Podcast Lilibet, where we cover that show. We will be covering it almost in real time, probably about a week after the part 1 airs. We'll be starting to give you episodes covering those. And if you're on the Double P Media YouTube, you'll find them here. So please be sure to subscribe, like the videos, and hit that notification bell so that you get alerted every time Double P Media puts out a video. As my friend John McGonigal likes to say, hit that notification bell, yo. And there's lots of stuff coming down the pike that Bubba, and hopefully once the strike is over, Catfish will return. Again, thanks for your patience. I know I'm not as funny as Catfish. And I suppose that's about it for podcast business. Remember that this particular podcast will be very book-centric. In fact, you probably ought to know that we might refer to storylines that go all the way through the series, everywhere from Eye of the World to Memory of Light. That's heavy book spoilers, heavy book spoilers. So if you don't want to be spoiled about things, this particular podcast might not be for you. And we're going to jump right in here with Chris and Priscilla on the tiny wheel of topics, which will be covering adaptation choices and speculations. So I have a whole bunch of topics written down here. We do what we call the tiny wheel of topics, where we spin a wheel, and then wherever it lands is where we talk. So let's spin the wheel. And the writing on the wheel, Chris, is always so small that I can never actually read it. So this is where I'm going to depend on your vision to tell me what that wheel says.
The arches. Yeah, let's talk about Nynaeve and the tests and the arches. Because that is... So by a lot of people's standard, and if you still kind of go by audience reaction on Twitter /X, that was one of the best and better episodes. I personally absolutely loved that episode. It was amazing. And a lot of other people did as well. What about you? What were your thoughts on it?
I love that they made it more about her personal journey rather than some kind of mystical thing. My heart broke when she ran through with that little girl, and then that little girl wasn't there anymore. I mean, I was destroyed. I probably more destroyed than she was. And again, I'm not a parent, so I can only imagine what that kind of thing is like for a parent to watch. But it was a wonderful exploration into her character. She did turn away from the Arch in the third test, so that all worked for me. All of that adaptation worked wonderfully for me and was actually better, in my opinion, than what I got out of the book from that.
It's completely right. It made it better. Like, I remember, really, really remember. The only thing that I think they kept, like in emotionally terms, is like the solemnity of the whole thing, not the whole the procedures that they go through. Mm-hmm. I really like. It's very. There are some very strict rules. They have like these things that they have to say. This, I really like it, and I think that they translated very well to the screen. But it was emotional. It was emotional. Whereas in the books, you don't feel half of it. Like, right. It's just a test.
Right. Yes.
In the TV series, it's a life-changing event.
Yeah, I'm the same. They were lent into the different variations of what this could be about the test aspect of the Arches. But they still kept the overall beat, if you want to call it that, the turn away, don't turn away type of thing. For me, as I said, like I really enjoyed how they did this. I think what they'll do for anyone else, what they're gonna do for the columns, which again, are the Arches? It depends on where you land on. Are the Arches a parallel universe? Are the Arches a dream? Are they just an hallucination? What are the Arches? And then the same with the columns. Are you just living the past? Are you in the past? Are you in the future? What are you seeing there, and what are those kind of, what is the one power doing to you? So I'd be interested to see how they kind of do the rest of that as well.
Exactly. Yeah. This might give us a little bit. These Arch things might give us a little bit of the foreshadowing of the columns in Radiance. So I appreciate you saying that. In The Great Hunt, Perrin does not actually kill Joffrey Bornhold. And in fact, is Dane even there to witness it? I can't remember what happens there, but he blames Perrin. But they've really ramped this up to a point where it's going to be super dramatic in season 3. They're in, Emond's Field in the Two Rivers. Did you like that change? Because I don't know how I feel about it.
I personally did, because essentially they've now made Perrin White Cloak enemy number 1. And really, then when we get Emond's Field versus the White Cloaks with Fail, his wife, his soon-to-be wife.
Right.
When you get all that, and the Emond's Fielders, and that whole banner, and this, we're going to get the hammer versus the axe. All of those bits have seemed just a bit more ramped up in, he actually did do the deed. It's not like he thought it. Also, the whole thing of his actual wife being dead now, that big change from season 1. Death has followed twice.
Yeah.
Of this man. They're going to lean into Perrin struggling with this. Is he dark? Is he evil? Is he, which we get a lot of in the books as well. He's not sure, is he actually an agent of good or agent of evil? Are the Wolf Brothers good or bad? Is Elias actually telling the truth?
At least they already established that Dane likes to drink a little bit. they are not going to be friends. And I was expecting some level of ambiguity with what Perrin would do to Daddy Bornhalds.
Yeah.
But there is no ambiguity
None.
on what happened. He
None.
killed his daddy in front of his eyes, in front of the son's eyes.
And it's
So
all
there is
thanks to
no
Child
way.
Valda. It's all thanks to Child Valda, Priscilla. If it hadn't been for Child Valda, Dane would not be able to see the evil person that Perrin is.
Child Valda. It's like wherever he goes and Perry is, there is a tragedy about to happen. If these two characters, they are sharing the same, they don't even need to exchange words. They just need to be in the same room. You know it's going down, and I love it. And his hatred will grow and grow. That's how we like our Child Valda.
We must have Child Valda get more mad about something every time. Absolutely.
But God, when you talked about when the baby died,
Yeah.
or the baby disappeared in the Nynaeve episode, when the Hopper was killed, and he hopped into the ether, Jesus, that was just like, I was like, any animal being hurt, I'm always like, oh, don't do that. This was like, oh God, that was powerful, and I think that kind of also will ramp up. So yeah, that's personally, I did enjoy it, and I think it will add a bit more oomph to the following season of versus the White Cloaks.
And I'm trying to remember, because it's been a while since I've read Eye of the World, but did Perrin actually kill one of those White Cloaks, even if it was somewhat accidentally, when him and Egwene were escaping from them?
Yes, yeah. I'm pretty sure he did.
Yeah.
Because that's why the questioner was so up against, he was like, well, you brought the wolves against us. You are evil. You are a dark friend. You killed the child of the light. Yada.
Exactly. So they've just put a higher profile name on it, and it's still wolf related. It all still works really well. But it's got, to me, it feels like it's going to have to put a little bit of a new spin on how fierce Dane is. I mean, even in the books, he still sincerely believes that it's Perrin's fault that his father is dead. So maybe it won't change it that much. But to actually witness it, that's, to me, a little bit more traumatic.
Yeah. And I think it's going to be... Yeah, I don't know what they'll actually do, how they'll do the inevitable face-off.
Yeah.
But also, you're going to make him what are you going to do with the other well-known White Cloak that comes later in the books, like versus Perrin, and how that all works off?
One of the things that is weird for me, because I totally loved Egwene having the agency to free herself, despite the fact that there might be some implications of, well, if she was still a Damani, could she actually do that or not? Because I still don't know how Egwene would be able to treat her Suldam that way while she was still collared herself. I mean, maybe there's a way, but I haven't figured it out yet.
I really think that the whole training had Egwene develop like some walls of her when she's in pain. I really think while Rina was there comfortable torturing Egwene was toughing up.
Okay, so it was really...
I think it was just a show of like, Rina was a bully, and bullies are often very weak when they are confronted with violence. Like, they are often very coward. So Egwene took it, all the beatings, everything, all the humiliation, and started building her strength from there. So she could withstand more pain than Rina in the end. Rina couldn't.
So in other words, it's not that Egwene wasn't experiencing it. It's just that she had been toughened up.
Yeah. Because that's what Rina says to her. You cannot do this. If you die too. And Egwene's like, no, you die.
Okay, I can accept that. But the one thing that I have was a drawback. You need Egwene to do this if you're a television show. She must have the agency to free herself. I believe in that. But the one drawback from that was the fact that it really diminished Nynaeve and Elaine's story in the finale. To me, there's nothing now for them to do. To me, except to have Elaine get shot with an arrow, have Nynaeve forget that you must break off the feathers before you shove the arrow through.
Yeah, let's not forget about that. She just she left a few diseases inside.
It's just a small infection. I'm sure that Egwene can turn around and then cure Elaine. Maybe. I don't know. And it does establish Nynaeve's block. So I'm all good with all of that. But it just felt like because Nynaeve had such a great section earlier in the season, just not even as a book reader, but I just wanted as a TV fan to see all of my characters really participating in this finale. And I felt a little cheated, is all I'm saying. And not bad, just not badly, but I did feel a little cheated by that. Otherwise,
I
loved
that.
it.
I just think personally, I personally loved what they did with Egwene. Nynaeve, not so much. Just the multiple panning shots where she just did instill the channel and essentially did nothing, and she just has that block. I was just expecting something more. I was like, come on, just like push through, show her the value.
Tug your braid, darn it.
Yeah, like literally anything. But she did nothing. And I'm like, oh, okay, sure. I know why, and I understand where you're probably going to go, I think, and see, like, she has to learn to channel properly. She nearly killed her friends, and now she has to overcome that in season 3. You've given her mountain to climb in season 3 now, and she will. She'll overcome it, of course. Or she won't. Again, I don't know where they're going with it. I think they may even... Yeah, it's so hard to see when they're going to, like, literally remove her block.
One of the other things about Nynaeve and Elaine is the fact that Rima has already given them Aes Sedai rings to care for, probably, expecting that they would take them back to the tower. But as we know in the books, Nynaeve and Elaine use rings that they get in order to impersonate Aes Sedai, right? So are they going to play that line off of these rings? I still, we know that they filmed some stuff for season 3 back at the Arches, which implies Elaine and Egwene need to get themselves out of the novice list and up into the accepted list, to me. Unless they just have something else happen there that has nothing to do with either of them, which would be weird. But this also allows them to go straight to Tanchico from here. If they get word from Swan, find the Black Aja or whatever. I think they have to go back to the tower to get that order from Swan before Swan loses the seat. But what do you think about the idea that is it just something that they've planted so that they can do whatever they want as far as Nynaeve and Elaine being in the position that they are in the books? Tanchico, were a number of places. I don't think we're going to get a circus, darn it. But and we certainly won't have Uno around, darn it.
Well,
I don't think a hero of the Horn's going to go to the circus. But what did you think about those changes for Nynaeve?
I think exactly what you're thinking is going to happen. I think they may go back first, and then the Amyrlin will kind of go. They'll try and hand the rings over, and the Amyrlins go, "No, I didn't see these. Maybe when I send you on your special journey, maybe you use them, but I didn't see this." And she's a bit more ubiquitous versus right now, kind of like she's a lot more. There is this change between the book and the kind of from the show, in that she's a bit more in the weeds with Moiraine on some of this, whereas this in the show, they've kind of broke that bond already almost. Well, they've severed the bond at the end, and very much set them on separate sides. But I think that's what we'll see somewhat. I think that's where they may go hunt for these people for me, because I can't trust anyone else. But you fought a Forsaken, I can trust you. I hope that's where they're going, because again, we're not going to get the circus. Yeah, we're not going to get some. We're going to get some chapters, but they're going to take beats from it because, like, look in season 2, when they were going after the horn, we didn't get all of the stops for the hunt of the horn, but we did get the death of the Fade. We did get a few of those bits, but they kind of also just fast-tracked some of it as well.
That's true. All right. So, Priscilla, we've already talked about, you haven't read Tanchico, so I don't know how to talk to you about this. But do you think it's possible that Nynaeve and Elaine will go around impersonating Aes Sedai? Have you read that far?
Yeah, I think it's possible. They're definitely going to do stuff in season 3 together, the 3 of them, or the 2 of them, right?
Yeah, I'd say the 2 of them more so than the 3 of them. This begins kind of a separation between Egwene and Nynaeve and Elaine. And Nynaeve and Elaine go through their whole series of their own kind of adventures, while Egwene kind of goes off with the Aiel more in these following books. Mm-hmm. So how far they'll get into that, if they are going to Ruidian, that indicates like the columns where you find out the real story behind the history of the Aiel, and it indicates the miracle of the rain as well. So will they get that far in season 3? I don't know. If they're going to have a really big Perrin episode and a really big Rand episode, the same way they did with Egwene and Nynaeve this year, it will be fun to see how they explore that stuff.
So we are not going to see the tower, do you think?
I think we almost have to. I think we have to have...
We're going to see less. We are going to see less of the tower.
I think that may be the case. Priscilla, because I do think that we have to have the coup. I think that we have to have Elida come from Camelin.
The tower is uproar, in uproar. When Swan gets there, it's like it's chaos. Things are happening, right?
Absolutely.
But I don't want the Swan in the series. How is she going back to the tower? Maybe the whole thing will be because of what happened in the season 2 with Rand running away with Moiraine and stuff and blah, 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 and not...
Exactly. What if the coup doesn't happen at the tower itself, but rather happens in Carrion? Swan is recovering. Min is still in Carrion. Logain is still in Carrion. And Leanne is still in Carrion. The 4 of them can escape from Carrion just as easily as they can escape from the tower.
Reckless speculation. Reckless speculation.
Next topic is what do we do about Barthannes? Are we going to just assume that he's now in pieces in his cell as opposed to in his room?
Yes.
Okay, so he is dead.
I think he's dead. Or at least he'll be talked about. But what happened in the city and what's going to continue to happen with the game of houses and all that stuff, I think it will somewhat play into season 3. Yeah. Because Rand needs to learn more about the Daestamere. He needs to learn about the Illuminators. We need to go back. But let's see.
Your boy Barthannes. Dead or no? Come on.
I don't know. My heart says he's dead. Do we need Barthannes for season 3? What would Barthannes do in season 3? No. Let's be honest.
Well, the story does eventually return to Carrion, so I think it would be cool. And if we're going to have Nynaeve a little bit, I think it would be cool to see Barthannes somehow get out of this thing and him and Nynaeve patch up somehow, and Barthannes be playing a role when they return to Carian.
Come on. Do you think good old Elvire would forgive a son who was willing to kill her after everything she did?
That's an excellent point. I concede. I don't think he's dead, though. I'm going out on a limb. Not dead.
Okay, he's
Just-
not dead.
Not dead, just so that Priscilla can see him on screen again. I did enjoy the idea of giving Rosamund Pike something to do as your lead actress, of course. But as you said earlier, the Lan story suffered a great deal. Any final thoughts about the Lan and Moiraine storyline?
Okay, I think it's very difficult, and I as usual, when Baba is with us, I stumble a little bit because I keep laughing at the things he says, and then I cannot coordinate my thoughts. But anyway,
Wait a minute. Wait. Are you saying I'm not funny? Is that what you're saying? Fired.
What?
Fired. You call him Bubba funny. You say you can't
Of course you're funny.
concentrate because of him.
You have your
But
hat.
I'm not.
You're Matt with a hat. Yeah, you're funny. But you
Just because of
have
the
an
hat.
obsession. You don't have an obsession with violence, and you're not demanding that Landa do something during an emotional moment, like.
Why couldn't he
Or
have been?
things like
Why
that.
couldn't they have been
Anyway.
bonded while Lan was killing people? I mean, why did they have to stand still? Why did they have to spend 5 minutes doing that when he could have been killing people at the same time?
Yeah. He was losing it. Look, I don't get it. How the relationship between Lan and Nynaeve will ever top what happened between Moiraine and Lan. Because, like, the moment Alana comes to Lan and says, "Hey, Lan, you know your girl Nynaeve, that your hookup? Well, she's very powerful. You know, in a year or two, or maybe 6 months, who knows? She will be an Aes Sedai, and you can bond with her. How about that? How about that?" And I was like, I don't want to bond with Nynaeve. I was like, what? What is going on? So even though he can have everything with Nynaeve, our boy Lan, he wants to be with Moiraine. So when we get to that bit, they are together and they are bonding. We understand they are like twin brothers or something, you know. So I don't understand going forward the whole relationship with Nynaeve after what we witnessed. Like, Lan is completely devoted, obsessed with Moiraine.
I think the adaptation reflected a lot of what Lan and Nynaeve's relationship is through the first 6 books of the series. Lan is very distant.
Okay.
So
But I'm talking about like the future. How are they going to top that? I don't think it will be as romantic as it was with Moiraine and Lan now. So
Okay.
What's the point?
Now, here's a big one for me, because I don't quite know what to make of this. And I know that Mr. Sanderson actually said, oh, well, they've given Matt the Ashendari already. And there seems to be a little bit of debate as to whether that's actually true or not. But it would certainly, at least to book readers on a first watch of this finale, it would seem like, okay, he's gotten his memories, he's got this spear, and he's very good with it all of a sudden. Are we going to lose foxes and snakes?
I think we're gonna. Like, I think, yes, you lose a lot. You lose a particular person in the books for a large chunk. And I've already talked about this, so I'll let you remind the audience who we lose.
Moiraine?
Yeah. And she's found again with the foxes. So really, for me, like, they're not going to get rid of Rosamund Pike.
Right.
So I think we're gone from that. Now, we still will. I think we're going to get the fox head medallion. I don't know where. It will just be an Angral or Sangral or Tel'aran'rhiod. They'll just they'll do some version of it because he still needs that. He doesn't trust Aes Sedai, so he still needs that power that's going to just render him a bit kind of not to worry about the one power.
But how's he going to find out about the Daughter of the Nine Moons now?
I know. Well, because you've got Min and foretelling.
Yeah. Okay.
There is, when you start to think about it, there is jumps and kind of logics because we didn't hear about the Daughter of the Nine Moons in this season.
Right.
Like I was expecting more about the Shan-Chan. I was expecting some of the kind of understanding of like, oh well, we've got the daughter here and the king here, and we're at this is what the Hawkwing, the descendants happened to them, and blah 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 blah. Didn't get that very much, so I don't know how much they're going to lean into it. I think we'll get some of it from Min. Min will act as kind of some of that foretelling aspect of it again what I think, but I think it's gone. I think he has it. He got his superpowers, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
He can now, and he got a spear.
Right.
To a degree.
The
question is how much
the spear, or is it the?
I don't know if it's the spear or not. He got a spear, and again, it's the dagger. So I think they might replace it. Maybe they go somewhere in season 3, and that's where he gets the fox head and the spear, and that's kind of some of the treasures that they find.
I don't think it is. It's kind of. It's just like some wood. The bed posting wood that
has ravens on it. It's wood with ravens on it.
I didn't see that. It has ravens on it.
Look at screenshots of that spear.
Come on, Matt. You know where I watch my Wheel of Time. I watch my Wheel of Time on the small screen of my laptop. You know that all these details.
No, go get a high resolution image and just zoom in on it on your small screen. You can see a ravens on it.
You're giving me extra trouble.
I'm giving you extra trouble. Sorry.
Yeah. I watch an episode. If I'm not seeing anything and I have to zoom in, I don't know where to zoom in because I'm watching on a small screen, so it's like a vicious cycle.
Priscilla, after all the huge amounts of money that I pay you, you can't do just a little bit of extra work?
No. I send money to poor children. I'm not like you.
I don't think he's fully awakened, if you want to call it that, because the tactician of Matt really only, and the jumbling of the dice.
Right.
I think that slowly starts to happen in season 3.
Okay.
And maybe that's how they kind of, he was in the heat of the battle and he said he remembered who he is, but because the horns now dissipated and the heroes of the ages are gone, some of that memory is kind of gone, but it will slowly kind of flash up and down as we need it. Kind of the MacGuffin that it is sometimes. It's a shame, I do think, but again, they might do it. We still haven't got the World of Dreams. It happened in book 2. We get introduced to dreamers in book 2. We don't have it yet. I don't know if we'll get it. I don't, in book 2, in the Hunt of the Horn, Rand and Lanfear and Loyal go through what we essentially think is Tel'aran'rhiod, or the Dream World. I can never pronounce it. Again, I've been saying it in my own head for years.
Yeah.
But they go to the Dream World and they use that to get fast track to Karain, sorry. And then we also kind of get, who do you call it? Lanfear is the daughter of the night. Right. She is the queen of dreams, nightmares. So she uses that a lot. It hasn't been introduced. So it's a hard one to introduce. All we've got is that she took Rand there via.
Yeah, the out that I see for that, and the way that you can bring Rand in on this, the way that you can bring Egwene in on this, and Egwene can somehow maybe visit Nynaeve and Elaine if they are already separated.
Yeah,
is the Wise Ones.
Mm-hmm.
teaching them about the T word, Tel'aran'rhiod. I don't know. I'll try and butcher it just as easily as you do, because we're not.
Yeah, there's definitely someone screaming at the mic. You're screaming at us right now while listening, going, "What the? My God, it's blah 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 blah." So they're like, "Can you not just say blah 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 blah?" And I'm like, "No, no, I can't."
Rafe, we're sorry. We know you're listening. We're very sorry. Jim, I'm sorry. Brandon, we're very sorry. So anyway, that's the only way that I see that they could introduce it as a whole subject that they can spread, except for Perrin, maybe, because he experiences that stuff also, where he's going around. Who is the one in the dream world that ends up being Luke, or seems like it's Luke, Sir Luke?
Oh,
Luke?
the hunter.
The hunter.
No. Yeah, the hunter.
Yeah. I want to see Perrin leap from mountain to mountain. I really want to see that.
Because, again, we just saw a glimpse of it. Like, we saw it, it wasn't explained. We saw Rand go meet Lanfear in his dream. But they didn't explain that it's like, it's a whole world. Like, they didn't do that. They just kind of had it almost like it's in his head.
Right.
Like, they did. And then when Lanfear took him to see Egwene, they didn't really explain, like, well, actually, it's in the dreams, but it's like, that's why. And like, it made it seem like it's more there. I don't know. It was a weird one for me. And I'm just kind of like, let's see how they get it. But again, they can probably work around it if they need to. But I don't think they will. I think what they'll do is take key aspects of all of it and just kind of dumb some of it down and make it a bit more cinematic, like they did with the Ways.
Sure. You're probably correct about that. I just hope that it's introduced in an organic way and it doesn't just seem like, oh, by the way, this was here all along, but you didn't know anything about it. I like discovery in television shows, but I just don't want it to come across as it, even though it's not, I don't want it to come across as feeling like a retcon. Oh, by the way, you could have done this the whole time. Or whatever. I just want it to be organic in the way that they learn about it. And I feel like Egwene with the Wise Ones would be the best way to introduce it or to fully explain it. Like you said, it's already been, we as book readers know what we've seen, but it hasn't been explained to an extent that maybe the Wise Ones would explain. Hopefully it won't get too expositional, but that's always the fear also. That every writer has. But I mean, isn't there a scene, and I can't remember if it's Fires of Heaven or if it's Lord of Chaos, where or I don't think it's as early as the Shadow Rising, but isn't there a scene where Egwene and somebody have to fight off, or is it Elaine and somebody, they're with other Aes Sedai in Tel'aran'rhiod in the dream world. And things that they think about that they manifest with their brains can actually hurt them.
Yes,
in the world, that's one way to add action to that exposition, I guess.
Exactly, because they talk about that in this season with the arches. That sometimes people go into the arches and they come out they get a cut there, a lethal blow, and they come back and they're fine. And other times, it's like death. So again, it's that how deep, how much they actually enter the dream world. They get there, like it's like whether there is death or not, and whether they actually go there in physical body versus not, and but I'm like you. I want to see Perrin leap hill to hill to hill. I want to see him run with the wolves. Right. I just don't. They might introduce it next season and then really kind of lean in season 5, maybe. Again, it's hard to see. I like the idea of the Luke and Hunter because that was always cool when you heard who it was.
Right.
Because you could do a whole season of that. Not the whole season. You could do a couple of episodes kind of dragging it out like, who is the hunter in the hood? Oh my God.
Oh no!
And then
The
just
new
have it-
mystery.
Yeah, exactly. And we're all like, "It's that guy," and they're like, "Shh, you don't know. Ooh, it's nothing there."
As you
Oh,
know,
you know, I saw a theory that I really like. There is this amazing channel, which is the one that I'm now getting stuck to it when I come to Wheel of Time. It's Road to Tarvalon.
I
Have you
love
seen
them.
this
I
channel?
love Amber.
It's amazing. Amber is amazing. She's the best. And she was talking about how when Mogadin and Lanfear are together, having their face off, that Mogadin actually possibly is already like in the dream world. Like she was like showing, okay, even like there is even the musical cues when Lanfear sees that all the seals are broken, and then like there is like a change in the color of the color scheme of the scene. Like the colors are vivid when Lanfear is in, and when Mogadin appears, it's almost like it's black and white and blues. There is no warmth with it. So there is like they're already saying that maybe Lanfear, she thinks that she's the queen of the dream world, but Mogadin is supposedly to be even better than her, right?
Mogadin
Because
is not
Mogadin
one of the
is, like-
stronger Forsakens in the book.
She's not. Yeah, but she's very prepared, and supposedly in this
Prepared,
realm,
yes.
she is better,
Yeah.
or at least more subtle, because that's what Ishamael accuses Lanfear, that she's not very subtle with the things.
Right.
She's very good, but she's not very subtle. Yeah.
Yeah. I heard Amber's
So
thought
that-
on that.
I really like it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
really like it.
Yeah. I'm not sure that I agree with it, but I think it's a good theory. Next topic that comes up, and this is one that we can probably roll one of my thoughts and one of your thoughts into at the same time, is the question of Thom Merrilin. What you got on this?
This is the hurt part for me. I love Thom. I love the character of Thom. I love where he goes in the books. I love how he gets there in the books. I don't understand why he's not a recurring character in the show. It's always slightly bugged me. They introduced him. They introduced like, an actor who is pretty decent in that swagger of a Gleeman.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's it. I kept expecting more and more and more of him to kind of pop up, especially in this season when they're in the same city and he was there.
Right.
But they haven't. And I'm just so curious. Is he coming back in season 3? Or is this character dropped? Like, are they dropping Thom?
Alexander Willem is coming back to play Thom
Okay.
Merrilin in season 3. The WOT series has confirmed that, and it's in his CV or whatever the actors put out. So he is coming back. I think the only reason that he wasn't in season 2, and something that may have affected the writing of season 2, is the fact that at the time that they were going to film season 2 of Wheel of Time, he was filming 1899.
Okay.
So he wasn't available at the time to do it. Now, how you get around those kind of contracts, I have no idea. I've never been an
Yeah.
actor or anything like that. I know that it's done, but I just don't know how. But he will be returning. My problem is now that it's been a whole season and a half since the last time that we saw the guy, is anybody going to care that he's back?
No.
Unless he specifically meets up with Matt or with Rand. Then that's not going to really work in terms of a big reveal. Oh my gosh, you're alive, blah, blah. You know, you need some kind of realization that he's alive. On the other hand, if he just shows up in Chanchico with Nynaeve and Elaine and starts hanging around them, maybe you could have Elaine remember him from his time with Morghese or what have you like that.
Yeah.
But there's no peril as to where's this guy been? What's he been doing? Obviously, we didn't get any of the killing of the King of Carrion because his girlfriend got killed or any of that stuff. So the way that they fixed that was just say, oh, well, our ruler here is not the king. It's this queen, you know, and so easy fix. They paved over it. But the whole idea of Thom mattering to a television audience, I can't really see. Was his portrayal in those 2 episodes in season 1 so memorable that people will say, "Oh my gosh, it's that guy! He's alive! He survived the fade." I don't know.
Yeah. I don't think so. I think, like, no, because we didn't get, to a degree, him training Matt and Rand, showing them the flute and the lute.
Right.
You didn't get the acrobatics part for Matt, and the being kind of the tumbler, and you didn't get the essentially a lot of the folklore aspects of the stories that the Gleeman tell. Like, if they had have shown another Gleeman this season, I think you could have kind of lent into it and kind of a bit more. And if they had had him meet with Rand and just have like one scene where they meet in the Foregate, in Foregate, that could have kind of just kept him in enough, because when they first meet in the Foregate again in the second book, like, Thom is kind of like, who is this sheep herder? And still, you also need to kind of really deep into the gentling of his nephew, and of course, where his life as a court bard or court musician. You need to get into all that. So I think I'm interested to see how they'll make him. Eileen, I'm not being too harsh, but relevant.
Yeah.
Because he's in nearly every book he's in. Like, he is a core character in my view.
Well, he's one of my favorite characters, but at the same time, I think to myself, well, the one book that he really does something super important is The Great Hunt. Otherwise, to me, his story is more about either Morghese or Moiraine.
Yeah.
You know? And granted, later on, it does matter. But it's kind of like, well, now you're going to put him back in? What are you going to give him to do? And again, he can travel with Nynaeve and Elaine for a little while, as he does.
Or he travels with Matt, or we get everyone. He turns out he was in Falm, and the opening of the next season is he was there, and he's like, "What the hell did I just witness?
Yeah.
I am now following you people because I am a Gleeman and I want this tale."
Yeah.
And he follows everyone, and then they split up. And
him and Asmodia might have a fight over who's the better bard.
Again, we could see. I'd love to see how Rafe broke this story. That's what if the one thing I ask is, if this does not finish, if they don't finish the book series in TV, I want to see how he broke it.
I want to see the series whiteboard for sure.
Yeah, exactly, because that will tell me how that writer's room thought of each of the characters and where they kind of put them together.
Did you miss Thom Merrilin in season 2 based on his storyline in The Great Hunt? Or The Dragon Reborn?
No.
Really?
I don't miss Thom Merrilin, no. What I missed was the effect he had in Rand and Matt more. Because I really liked, maybe I'm too emotional, but I really liked that Rand was thinking about becoming a musician. So the whole thing, which is like, it's just a tiny detail, I know, in the first book, and he moves forward the second book where he earns some money playing.
Right.
And I really like that, and this is all because of Thom Merrilin. So in this sense, but since this effect disappeared in the series, we never see him teaching. Then I didn't miss him. Yeah, because that was for me what was the best.
Do you think anyone will care when he comes back in season 3? Will they even remember him?
Of course they will remember him. He was hot.
Oh, okay. That's always the reason for you for everything. So as Bubba said in the last podcast, so shallow, Priscilla. Oh.
No.
So you just want hot musicians around you all the time, right? I'm a musician, but I'm not hot, so I don't qualify. Forsaken, going from 13 to 8. You cool with that? I know we talked a little bit about this before.
Yeah, but what about the late Forsakens? I know that there are some Forsakens. There are like repeat cards, so to speak.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. I can tell you as a later book reader, and you've probably already heard this from other people, but they did bring a lot of Moradin's stuff into the Ishmael character early. You know, so that you can feel them being the one and the same. Now, will they bring Moradin back? I almost feel like they got to bring 5 back, right? He's just too good looking and he's too good an actor. But I don't know if it will be until the end of the season or the end of the series.
Are they going to de-age him? That would be funny.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how they'll do it, but they got to bring him back somehow.
I know.
Not in season 3.
I know.
Though.
They are going to paint a mustache on him. This is what. Let me tell you. This is what they used to do, like in telenovelas, in Brazilian telenovelas and the like. When they wanted to, like, this guy is a guy. There is a character that is actually pretending to be another one, or is hiding his true identity. So they will always have like some mustache, or even worse, put glasses on. It was like, oh my God, who are you? I don't know you. Or faking the death. Fake deaths are also very good.
It is it's an interesting choice to go from 13 to 8. And actually you go from 13 to 7 by the end of the season. If they don't bring one of them back, which they probably will, but who would do it? And like, unless they're gonna, the only thing I can think of is they do the Padan Fane change proper in season 3 and make him his own agent of chaos, and that's how they kind of, you've got the 8, well, you've got 7, now you've got this agent of chaos in the side, which is Padan Fane.
Padan Fane is one of the most underserved characters in the book series and in the television series, in my opinion.
The sniffing aspect, the book in the book 2, where he explains how he was tore apart and put back together time and time and time again. Every winter when he would disappear from Emryn's Field and go back to the Blight, he was tore apart again, put back together, his memory stolen. Like, he was suffering. And then you see that smile when he comes back as the suave peddler. He's a great actor in this series. Yeah. Like, he has that horrible, charismatic smile that you expect from the peddler in the books.
Yeah.
Don't have the craziness yet, which is the part I was missing.
Right. Yeah.
But anyway, sorry, back to the Forsaken.
So do you have, we know, we've already seen Moghedien.
Yep.
We've heard Grendel mentioned. So we've got Lanfear, Grendel, and Moghedien. Got any speculation on who the boys are?
Pretty much, I think, are the ones that they're going to do, which is, as you said, Ravin, Samuel, and Demandred. Like, those all have big enough parts to play in the whole
especially
book.
If they were to do, and we've heard also from WOTseries.com, there's a possibility that another Forsaken has been cast already, a male. Is it possible that we could have Ravine already in Caemlyn when we go to visit Elida?
Yes.
Or Ravin, or however you say his name.
Yeah, because, that, and if you're bringing Elaine going back to Andor to see her mom, and you introduce all those characters, and you introduce the mother being acting crazy and being whispered to and controlled and compulsion, that's cool. Like, and then that makes sense. That's how you would do it. I think they may combine some of the Forsaken storylines, but I just don't know how, because again, it's 13. they're not doing the Dark One seals. Like as a whole, they're not doing the
Right.
Dark One seals.
Right.
They're doing that. They were sealed in their own seals versus they were at like the different tectonic layers of the seals breaking on this tunnel down into the center of the Dark One's prison. So I think what they'll do is just kind of whoever has the greatest impact on a storyline, they'll put them together and put them, and you'll have to have each of them go against one of the main characters. Like, that's how you do it. So maybe we don't get the Hunter, we don't get Luke. Maybe we get a different Forsaken going after Perrin, and because you then you don't have to worry about introducing another Forsaken and explaining it.
True.
But it's like as I said with the prophecies, they didn't explain the prophecies too much in this season.
Right.
So I think if you go deep into, I use the joke Basil exposition, where you have this conversation where you're just pretty much explaining it to the audience, but you have a character explain to another character, they spell it out for them.
Right.
You do, these are the prophecies, and these are the Forsaken, the evil Dark One, and we now know who the Balsamon is. We now know that this was not the Dark One, this was Ishamael. And then we know Lanfear is there, so these are the other ones. These are have to worry about. I think that's what they'll do.
They are putting a lot of effort making the villains feel more like human beings, or at least have motivations. They're intelligent and act in ways that you can move the plot. So the villains are they feel that they not only belong to the world, but like their grievances, we understand their grievances, and they feel interesting. They feel compelling. It's not, they are not just there just to antagonize because they want to antagonize, but they have their own agenda. And I really like that. I think it's one of the ways you can make a series more appealing, is to lean on the villains to make the story feel more like honest and legitimate. So I'm not there yet, but I heard a lot about the Forsaken and what they are and what they are not, and like the most common complaint that I hear is like they are mostly underdeveloped because there are so many storylines, and you have hints of what they could be or what kind of things they could do sometimes, but most of the times it doesn't come to fruition. So my thinking is, since they are like making this effort to, one, simplifying storylines, two, making them more compelling as characters, as villains, it's going to be reduced and combined in there, which is basically the same questions as before, but additions to the villains.
Yeah. Combining some of the Forsaken can make them
which we already know,
multi-dimensional. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So you think like Lanfear, for instance, they were successful in what they did. She's not the crazy ex-girlfriend only.
Yes.
She's like, yeah, I want my dragon back, but I want my dragon back at full force. Woohoo! Let's go, Ren.
Lanfear is not just a crazy ex. Ishi is not just a madman. Moghedien to be determined, but given that performance, I'm really looking forward to what they do in Tenchiko. I think that'll be really fun. I think that if you spent that much time with 13 of those guys and put that much into it, it'd be too much. And if you've only got 8 seasons of a television show to do, max, I've heard possibly only 7, you've got to reduce that number down. But by doing so, it's actually making them make these villains more interesting. Because who doesn't love an interesting villain? Everybody loves an interesting villain. And you're right. What you have heard, I believe too, is that many of the Forsaken, and even some of the dark, even a lot of the Dark Friends. Liandrin's a perfect example from this season. Liandrin was expanded upon so beautifully, and she's very much one-dimensional in the book series to me. So I love that they're concentrating on that, just so long as it never comes at the cost of our main characters.
But do you think that from the combinations we are getting, and this is I don't know, but I heard that there is unused material from Brandon Sanderson, like that Robert Jordan was planning.
It might have snuck into season 3. It might have snuck into season 3, but I don't know if Rafe's ever going to talk to Brandon Sanderson again after this last thing.
How are they condensing things, right? So it's already established. We have 2 seasons behind us. So they are not book to book, which would be impossible due to the limitations, Amazon limitations. And anyway, I don't think it would work like book, let's be honest.
Agreed.
So they are like kind of focusing on keeping the main characters interesting, and in doing that, they are like combining their plots. So we are seeing some characters with plots they're like more advanced, like in book 3 or book 4 now in the second season, because the second book there is not that much going on, like Moiraine. There's not much going on with the character Moiraine. In the books, they are mostly being adapted right now, so they kind of like made things up, bring up things from the prequel, elements from the prequel, some new stuff, enhance some other stuff, and bring up some elements from later. So if they keep doing that, which I think it makes sense, going to season 3, what plots do we think that they are going to do the same thing? Meaning, what plots they are going to pick up for Perrin, let's say. Perrin maybe doesn't have much to do here. What plots are they going to bring forward from like a previous book that they left behind, or a book that is in the future, or Matt, for instance, because Matt is the one that you're more concerned about the whole thing, how he got his memories, what they are going to condense to this plot line now.
Yeah, I think Matt is a bigger concern for me because Perrin has plenty to do in book 4.
Yeah,
he's not really at all that much in book 5. So I think they could pretty much just stick Perrin with book 4 stuff. My concern with the whole spear and the memories thing with Matt was that that's kind of his book 4 and 5 stuff. So I have no idea what they're going to do with Matt.
Yeah, don't you think that they are going to progress his storyline there? Because that's what they are doing. They are not going like book. No, let's focus on the characters. So there is something interesting for Moiraine in the prequel. Let's bring back. There is something interesting for Moiraine in book 4. Let's bring here. So maybe they are doing the same to Matt, just the opposite way. Instead of like going back, they are going forward with the Matt storyline.
The problem that I have is that Matt's storyline. The problem that I have is that Matt's storyline is also really strange, right? I mean, we've got that stuff with him back at the tower, but he's already learned good. His memories have given him good stuff with the staff, so we don't need that. He does do a little bouncing around like the Camelin and whatever, like the first chapter or the first episode is going to be titled after, but there's not a lot there either. And Matt doesn't really come into his own until about book 6, which is after Rand has done all this stuff with the Aiel. And then Matt's general stuff, him being a good general, really comes forward. So I don't know who Matt could be fighting to prove his good general stuff. so weird for me.
Okay.
I can't figure him out unless him and Thom Merrilin just go around on a spree. That would be fine. I'd be fine with that.
Do you? I hated to say it, but do you think they are going to split the Perrin storyline with Matt? Perhaps.
I want to see Gaul. I want to see that whole thing between Gaul and Chiad. We can get Alana and Varen there in the Two Rivers with Perrin. So they've got something to do.
Maybe Matt also there.
Yeah, I understand that, but it doesn't. There's still nothing for Matt to do. There's nothing, unless he does. And well, now wait a minute.
Reckless speculation. Reckless speculation.
If he's got his general stuff in his head, he can help Perrin. He can help Perrin out with the general stuff against the Trollocs and against the White Cloaks. That would work. You're right. If he went to Edmund's Field with Perrin, that would actually work. I like that a lot. Chris, I want to thank you so much for your time. I know it's very valuable, and I really appreciate you making it for Bustin' Blockbusters podcast. As always, your guys' work on tvpodcastindustries.com is excellent. I encourage all of our listeners and YouTube viewers to go check out all of their podcasts covering a wide variety of shows, all of them good. How do you guys not pick stinkers? When I go to pick shows, I always pick stinkers. But you guys choose great show after great show after great show. It just goes to prove you all have better taste than me, which is fine.
There is the story of Jupiter Circle. For me, that one of my favorite comic books of all time. And that show on Netflix, we watched ahead of schedule. And we just went, nope. Just plain up, nope. we
that's
got
the thing.
Preview.
You guys know how to get out before you got in. I don't know. I'm halfway in. I'm kind of like, oh, I quit. So because I'm a lazy podcaster. I don't do this for a living, folks. But if you do want to pay me, you can do it. You can do it by paying me in feedback. You can send tweets to Bust Blockbuster or X posts or some non-pornographic way of saying that. Is there? I don't know. But the site formerly known as Twitter.
Yes, that's how I'm kind of doing it. It's the site formerly known as Twitter, or Twitter Jason's best friend. And
if you want to talk to Chris, how can they do that with you?
You can head on over to tvpodcastindustries.com. We have all our links there. You can follow us on each and every good and evil podcast catcher. You just search TV Podcast Industries. We have individual kind of streams for each of our main shows, but there's also just the main feed. And you head to TV Pod Industries on site formerly known as Twitter, or head on over to our Facebook group, because that is still a thing, where we have a load of fellow industrialists or groups of people that just chat about each of the shows, and we have individual spoiler posts for each post of our show, each episode. You head on over to facebook.com/groups/TV Podcast Industries, and you can just join us there. And it's good fun. It's good, just genuine fun. If you like a show, tell us what you thought. If you don't like a show, tell us what you thought. We may disagree. That's the fun part. But it's always a good, rollicking discussion point. Let's put it that way.
He sounds like he said that before.
Almost like it's trained into me.
Oi, can we get the feedback out of the monitors, please? So, some lovely feedback.
That's a big one.
From Daniel Broom, 5690. It was actually in two different comments, but on the same YouTube, our wrap-up part 2 that we did with Baba, and said, Daniel Broom, 5690, says, a lot of Season 2 seemed to be a course correction from Season 1. That's probably why I liked it so much more. As bad as Season 1 was, at least this was moving in the right direction overall. My next season prediction, we well know that they are going to the Threefold Land. I very much doubt that they'll cut the Stone of Tyr or Kalendor. That would have been that would have to be early in the season, though that's where Rand would find the sword, and the Aiel head off with them and Egwene and Mat to the wastes. Okay, so let's stop there. I disagree. I think they can drop Tyr and Callandor completely for now and return back to it later when it becomes more important in the books than it is in book 3, because he's already killed Ishmael. He uses it to kill Ishmael in the end of book 3, right? So we don't need him to have Callandor to do that. He kind of had his own Callandor. It was a bright blade. It wasn't Callandor, but I think it was supposed to be just kind of an homage to that whole ending of Ishmael at the end of book 3. So I don't think we need Tyr, because the only thing that happens there is he kind of gathers people to him. He can do that at Falma. And you don't need Chris brought up the prophecy thing. I think that's important thing about how much they're going to actually follow the prophecies. But with a different prophecy coming in every book, it's really going to be hard to cut storylines in condensed books. So I think this is one that they can just kind of take off, and we can say, okay, the people came to him at Falma instead of Tyr, and here you go, off to Rhuidean we go. There's no mention of Tyr by Rafe in any of the things that he said since season 2 aired. So I think that Tyr is gone. I think that Callandor is gone until Rand needs it later. Daniel Broom 5690 says, I think they'll cut the first door Tel'aran'rhiod, which is actually at the tower, because the show did already fill Mat's head with memories. But I think they'll keep the second doorway in Rhuidean. I'm not sure how they'll deal with Lanfear in season 3. They might save her stuff in Rhuidean for season 4, but I think they did foreshadow her showdown with Moiraine and the doorway when Lanfear threw Moiraine through the doorway to Falm in season 2. That's a good point. I love that. But the doorway thing, they have to find in Rhuidean anyway. I just don't think Mat's going to be there. And the thing about that doorway, I mean, there are a lot of things like the Daughter of the Nine Moons that happen in these doorways with the foxes and snakes, and foxes and snakes becomes a big thing to Mat as the books go on. So I hate that they're dismissing this storyline, but it seems like they've already given him everything except the medallion and everything except some of those questions regarding the Shan-Shan. They've given him, he can get those in other ways. So I don't know if we need doorway, and I don't know if we need Mat in Rhuidean. I hope it's there. I hope that happens. I agree with you. I think that that's what they should do, but I don't think that that's what they're going to do. Daniel Broom 5690 continues by saying, Rafe is a confident showrunner, but not exceptional, in my opinion. He really doesn't know how to kill his darlings, as the writers say. He can't make cuts that he needs to improve the story. This is pretty evident with how much preference he is giving to his favorite characters, even if they weren't ones who needed the most time. Egwene did need that time this season, to be fair, because it is a large part of her arc, her relationship with the Shan-Shan, definitely. But it's probably going to continue next season, as she doesn't do that much in book 3 and only does a bit in book 4. I think we're beyond any book 3 stuff. To me, there might be a hint of something another, but I think they've already introduced the important elements with the Aiel coming in, and I don't think that we need much more book 3 stuff. I do think we obviously are getting a lot of book 4 stuff, and I think with the mention of Rhuidean, then you got to think basically you need a lot of book 5 stuff as well. And if you're talking Tanchico, you really need book 5 stuff. So I think that book 3 stuff for Egwene is gone. It doesn't really matter, except for the fact that, again, we have those shots of Rafe answering questions at Jordan Con on the Arches set. So Elaine at least gets raised to accepted. I can't remember if Egwene gets raised to accepted or not. I think she does. And we still need to meet Galad and Gwen. Gowan? Gwaine? How do you say that name, Priscilla?
Down.
Gowan? Okay. We need to meet him.
Down.
Galad and Gowan. I've heard a
Yeah, but
possibility
they were
of them being
mentioned. No,
casted.
just one more mention. Just
Just
one
one?
was mentioned this season.
So
Yeah.
that would be weird for me because their storylines go so far apart. On that same podcast episode, Glenn 9593 says, my theory is that season 3 will still be boring. Glenn, I'm sorry that you found seasons 1 and 2 boring, but I think that Priscilla is here to remind you that as long as you have shirtless men swinging swords, everything will be fine.
No, I don't care about short swords. Just the
shirtless
shirt,
men.
shirtless part. Yeah.
Just
I
shirtless
just
land.
want to see more. I just want to see more love on the screen. You see, I'm really leaning on now. That's my tagline right now.
So you're shipping Lan and Nynaeve hard, and you need
I'm
more.
not shipping anybody.
You're not shipping anybody. You just need more male body parts shown on screen, not necessarily peeing.
I'm willing to see where the story goes with an open mind, except that I'm not a bloodthirsty enthusiast like Baba is, and like I happen to like some like beauty in my tiny screen. I'm completely joking, okay? I'm just joking because they are taking the piss out of me.
She wants character development, as in the abs get tighter, the arms get stronger and bigger. Character development.
You see, they cannot stop. Matt, you cannot stop. I just mentioned that Bart was good looking once, and then
for our part 1 wrap up, Nathan Brem 1085 says the fact that they had Moiraine proclaim the dragon instead of following the source material tells you everything. It makes the prophecy irrelevant. I don't feel that, but prophecies can be misinterpreted and everything. Just look at the way they did men with Matt with the dagger. You know, Matt did stab Rand with the dagger, but
stabby.
Yeah, but it wasn't in the way that she saw it in her vision. Tiger 35JB says season 2 didn't suck as bad as season 1, but it still sucked. Well, hopefully you enjoyed our coverage of it because you listened to it. So we appreciate you doing that.
We do appreciate your comments, even if they are negative.
Everyone is entitled to
you're
their
always
opinion.
adding something.
Yeah. Everyone is entitled.
That's what I'm saying. Because at least you're adding something. It's very bad, like, just to bring people down. Like, season 2 didn't suck as bad as season 1, but it still sucked. This is our opinion.
Right. We asked the question in a poll, should Bubba start hating on the Wheel of Time books? Hopefully he won't, but maybe he will.
No, reading.
Should we recommend him read these books so that he could comment about the lack of violence in them just as much as he does about the lack of violence in the television show? And actually 69.2% of the people that we polled said, do not read the books, Bubba. Or do not just jump in on book 4.
They like Bubba the way Bubba is. Trying to dress up his need for something bloody happened. I was like, nothing happened. They were just at the beach. They were not doing anything. Just keep moving. I want the story to move. No, yeah.
We'll continue to have thoughts during the off season as the Wheel of Time continues. And don't forget that Priscilla and I will likely be back to talk about the Rings of Power when it returns in 2024.
The Rings of Power. I just have one.
She just has one ring of power, and she uses it very well.
Yeah. Yes.
So.
And we are going to see the Rings of Power, the next season of the Rings of Power. That's what I heard.
Right on. So
finally,
Priscilla, you will be covering that. Anything else you're going to be covering on your YouTube channel? That's youtube.com/@PriscillaTV1 in the foreseeable future.
Well, I just have to organize a wrap up, like video about Wheel of Time. I thought I would do like maybe next week. Afterwards, I don't know. Usually I appear out of nowhere once a month, just ramble about something I watched, or do the usual recommendation of series that nobody but me watches, which is also fine, until Rings of Power comes. Then I will be faithfully covering every week. But I don't know. The Boys, I really like The Boys, but I haven't watched the present series right now. Are you watching it? The Generation V?
I am watching it. How
is it going?
But I haven't watched the latest episode. I've finished the first 6 episodes. I haven't started episode 7 yet. I really liked it. I mean, I liked it a lot. I think I like it better than The Boys.
Whoa. You know what? Because like with series like The Boys, what I usually do, or like Last Kingdom or Vikings, what I usually do, I binge watch and then I do like a monthly recap. So I just do like a 1-hour video live discussing with people the whole series. So that's what I do. But I don't think they're going to have a new Vikings next year. So. And with The Boys, I was doing that. I did that with the seasons, which was fine because there are some seasons that you want to watch, but not every week. So
at Bust Blockbuster on the site formerly known as Twitter, and mattsaudioblog@gmail.com, and youtube.com/@PHQ. And yeah, that's it for me. And your channel, as you said, you'll be chiming in every once in a while, just keeping people up to date with what you've been watching, what you've been seeing. She is on YouTube, youtube.com/@PriscillaTV1.
But thank you for the Gen V recommendation. Maybe I should watch it. If you like better than The Boys, that's like high praise in my book.
It's still just as gross, but I like these characters better. This has been Busted Blockbusters.
Good.
See ya.
Send emails to mattsaudioblog@gmail.com and find all back episodes and other information at mattsaudioblog.com. Part of Double P Media, doublepmedia.com.